everybody, welcome to the show. Happy Friday. We have much to discuss today. We're going to be circling back, Jen Psaki circling back on the MrBeast story involving Kris/Ava Tyson and all the different updates there. It seems like Kris Tyson is out. He's no longer on the MrBeast team. So we'll go and circle through all of the allegations, give you guys the update on that story. Plus, Kamala Harris has now received endorsement from Obama and Michelle, which we've been waiting for quite some time, thinking maybe Michelle Obama was going to throw her name in the hat. That no longer seems to be the case. And we're also going to circle back on the Elon Musk story. Elon Musk recently said that his son is dead because he has a trans child that has now transitioned to become a woman, once named Xavier, now named Vivian. And Elon Musk's child has responded, and you can only imagine what that response is like. So stick around to the end of today's show to find out exactly what has been said here. Now, of course, before we get into all of these different stories, we've got Taylor in Nashville.
Super exciting stories to get through today. I have an even more exciting story, though. Today is my birthday, so happy birthday to me. We get to talk about Kris Tyson. Can't wait. Yes.
Oh my gosh, what a fun subject matter to talk about on your birthday, because now you're a grown man. Can you imagine at this age, Taylor, messaging a minor?
Cannot. Thank you for asking, but absolutely
yes,
not.
of course. We would have been in for some very concerning answers if Taylor answered in any other way than the answer he just gave. But it's really interesting to think about, especially as I get older and I remember my younger self and think about me at this age talking to somebody at that age. That is absolutely insane to me. And it is one of the pillars, I guess, of the grooming experience. And I say this as somebody, to be quite transparent, who has experienced this in my past as an adolescent, that as you get older and you look back on your younger self, you go, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that I thought that behavior was normal. I cannot believe that this person I was talking to was an adult and entertaining a child at the time. How insane. And I think that's what's going to happen in this MrBeast story, as a lot of these young people who are sort of intertwined in the conversations that were being had on Discord and in Snapchat and meeting up in person with some of the people on this MrBeast team get removed from the situation and age out of that grooming period in their life. Now, we now have another young man who is supposedly coming forward with his own allegation against Kris Tyson for inappropriate messaging. And I want to be really clear, just as I was clear in the last conversation we had surrounding Kris Tyson. Kris Tyson is going to be referred to as Kris Tyson. I am not going to be referring to this individual as Ava. I am not going to be using she, her pronouns. Sorry if that offends you guys. I am in fact a TERF. So that's where we stand on this show. Also, we're going to talk about the allegations as they've been made, and we're going to be very clear about the allegations and about the accusations being made here. A lot of people are throwing out the term pedophile. That does not seem to be the actual correct terminology to be used in this case. I want to be clear with that. It is in no way condoning the behavior of Kris Tyson, which rightfully has gotten him fired from the MrBeast team. I just want to be clear with the terminology that we're using and using it accurately. Now let's hear from this other young man who's now coming forward and saying that he too had inappropriate messages with none other than Kris Tyson.
Kris Tyson from MrBeast used me, manipulated me, and did very inappropriate things with me while I was about 15 years old. I was actually friends with Lava GS at the time, who is the main victim of Kris that everyone has been talking about these last few days, who claims he isn't a victim, but we all know he is, and we all know he probably got paid off. Not only that, but he's also under an NDA from when he worked for MrBeast Gaming for 2 years, and he tried to get me to join MrBeast Gaming himself, Lava. He's the one who actually sent me the contract and tried to get me to sign the NDA, at which point I ended our friendship because I knew they were just trying to silence me. Me and him were both initially involved in running Kris's Discord server, helping him set up his Twitch streams and moderating them.
Nate's calling me. Hey, what's up? You're on stream.
You just leaked your address. Please end your stream. As well as other technical back-end things that he needed help with. This Discord server that we were a part of had about 10 people in it, most of whom were minors. I'm not sure how they got in there, other than me and Lava. He won a giveaway and Kris invited him after that, and Kris invited me after I saw one of his tweets asking for help setting up a Garry's Mod server for the 10 million subscriber MrBeast video. This turned into us having lots of private conversations with Kris and playing video games with him for hours on end. Not only did we do a lot of unpaid work for him that he promised he would pay us for, he would also frequently bring up sexual topics that was definitely not appropriate to bring up around 15, 16-year-olds, especially with him being like, I don't know, 20, 21 years old. He would even go as far as linking me several different porn and hentai videos throughout the time of me talking with him. Not only that, but he had an NSFW bot in his Discord server before he made it public. So when it was just a private server, his little circle of minors. And he would use this NSFW bot to spam different corn images, alongside all these 15-year-olds. He would also frequently call me dad and daddy, as well as the others, which I guess we all kind of just took as a joke at the time. You have to think this is someone who we looked up to at the time, we idolized, we thought was the coolest person in the world, so they couldn't really do any wrong in our eyes. But looking back, I was definitely uncomfortable at being called.
Okay, so there's part one of that video. Yeah, things are not looking too good. They're not looking too good. And as other people are starting to come forward with their own screenshots of some of the conversations in this Discord, as well as on other platforms, it's looking like he needed to go. So that's exactly what MrBeast did. Of course, people are now questioning what all did MrBeast know about this situation? Because if you're sort of intertwined with this team and you presumably know what's going on for the most part, you've been in these Discord channels, maybe somehow things sort of ran away from you and you didn't know exactly what was going on, but also, you probably saw a lot over the shoulders of other people and while you were doing your own work that would have maybe told you that inappropriate conversations were being had. And this seems to be a through line with several creators who now have their stories popping up and now have these allegations popping up. I'm reminded of Colleen Ballinger, aka Miranda Sings, who had her own controversy in regard to grooming young fans who she was talking to and having inappropriate discussions with them. There's this idea that because they're a fan of your content, that they are somehow enmeshed within the culture of the company that you're building, and you can now look to them as a means of outsourcing work. They're running your Discord. They're now mods on all these different servers, and it starts to blur the lines of the relationship that you have with these young people, which should be purely, the relationship of a content creator and a fan, and particularly a minor fan, where you keep that distance. And that distance was not kept, particularly back in these olden days of like OG YouTube, where people are deciding to blur the lines and treat these young people as if they are adults. Now we can make an excuse and say, oh, well, just at the time that was what was acceptable and we didn't know. And what did Colleen Ballinger say? I'm not a groomer. I'm just a loser. And there's room for understanding in that and really making room for the time that was happening and what was going on at that time, but there's not room for the inappropriate discussions. You're still an adult. You still know exactly who you're talking to and what you're talking about, and you know what's inappropriate. And there's actually messages that have been leaked, I guess, conversations that they had about this not safe for work server and whether or not it was appropriate to have it open to minors. Thank you, Taylor, for sending this over. Brooke, the mom, says, okay, I do think it's a bit inappropriate and should be limited to those who are actually of the appropriate age because it's open to everybody, is it not? In my opinion, there should be a bit more of a restriction on that. And then Nathan is asked, hey, Nathan, I'm okay with that. Brooke says, I don't have any issue with the channel. What I have an issue with are minors that have access to said channel. Kris comes in and says, is there even a way to do that? Meaning to stop minors from being able to see this not safe for work channel. Somebody says, not really, no. Kris says, so what do we do, LOL? Remove it? Nathan says, no, people like it. Even if there was a way, anyone can lie about their age, LMFAO. Kris says, yeah, true. I mean, to be fair, the internet is full of porn. This person by the name of Discount Milk says, Discord says that if you can't regulate it, don't have one. Quote, it's the responsibility of the server owner to prevent minors from viewing pornographic materials. Kris responds, what am I, a parent? So that's another layer of like, okay, I can give room. You blurred the lines of your relationship with these fans. You tell some inappropriate, edgy jokes, which is what they've been referred to, time and time again throughout this discussion. Okay, but then you have people of authority coming to you and saying, this isn't right. Maybe we should close this channel off to minors. It does have pornography circulating through it, and pornography that you specifically are sending, Kris, in the channel. And he says, what am I? A parent. So, you know what? I'm not saying we need to call the cops. Calm down. I'm not a cop. I'm just saying maybe you shouldn't be a part of this team anymore. And maybe there's some credibility to the allegations that have been shared. And when we first talked about this story, we were talking about a young person who online goes by the name Lava GS and was one of the minors who was intertwined in these allegations as somebody who I believe was 13 at the time of their initial contact with Kris and continued that contact from then on. Lava GS is now 20 and initially came out and said, these allegations are being spun. I never met up with Kris in any sort of inappropriate fashion. People are using these screenshots to sort of misconstrue a story and a relationship between me and Kris that did not occur. Lava GS is actually updated and come forward to speak more about this from a different perspective now that he's been exposed to some of the screenshots that he maybe did not remember at the time of making his initial remarks. He says, based on the recent screenshots and messages, I would like to say a statement about the Discord. This was 5 or 6 years ago, and I thought I had a good memory of the situation, but I was wrong. After reading the chat logs, this stuff was inappropriate and wrong. I spoke based on my memory of the situation, and I still do not remember these conversations, but they definitely happened. These conversations should not have happened with people at the age I was at the time. I strongly condemn them. I still believe I am not a grooming victim, but these conversations should not have happened with me and any other minor in this Discord. I was a minor in this situation and not the adult influencer who shouldn't have allowed this to happen. I did not see this wrong at the time. Which, fair enough. And he's gone on to say, I'm specifically talking about the Discord messages. These are things that I've seen that have jogged my memory, and I now realize how inappropriate this was. He maintains the idea that he was not groomed. But again, as I'm saying to you now, leave room for him growing up, getting older, and specifically reaching some of the ages that Kris was at the time of talking to them, which he is at that age around now. He's 20. I think Kris started his initial contact with these young people at 20 years of age. So give him some time to recognize where he's at his age and compare that to maybe the 13-year-olds that are alive right now, and to ask himself whether or not he would have those sorts of conversations with 13-year-olds. It seems like he's coming around and realizing just how inappropriate this actually is. And I think there are more realizations to come down the line. I know a lot of people, men in particular, don't view these sorts of conversations as being a sign of grooming because we're often told this is locker room talk. This is how boys talk to one another. And oftentimes when boys are engaged with on like a sexual level when it comes to pornography or inappropriate jokes, it does happen at the behest of older guys because you're around them, they learn these things, they pass it down to you, they start telling jokes, but that doesn't make it appropriate. Okay. And oftentimes we don't realize until it's too late. We're far removed from the situation and there's nothing to be done in this case other than to condemn Kris, to talk about these conversations, to let other young people and young men in particular know that this is not appropriate. And if they are experiencing it, they too should come forward and do something about it. And, I don't know if the internet is the greatest platform to deal with all these things on. And I would hope that people would deal with this internally and through actual channels of authority that can do something about this. But since we are so far removed in this case from the actual initial conversations where these things happen, the internet is where this is being dealt with. And since Kris at this moment, or really no longer, but at the moment of this being shown, had a considerable platform on the internet, it seems about justified to me that it was brought to light in the public square and people were able to give commentary on it. This is by no means appropriate. Never would have been appropriate. And now that you have more people coming forward and saying, yeah, I experienced this too. It paints a pretty clear picture that not only was Kris Tyson having inappropriate discussions with minors, but he himself lives in a kind of perverse world with the things that he is talking about and the things that he is sharing. And I'm going to go even further to say the perverse world that he's been living in for much of his life has probably informed the identity that he takes on today as Ava. And while so many people are calling it transphobic to have that discussion, these two things, more often than not, cannot be separated from one another. And there are a lot of people in a very similar situation to Kris, now Ava, who have also been, shall we say, exposed to that situation through their own perverse sexual interest. But we'll talk about that in just a moment. That is the update, though. Now, MrBeast has spoken on this publicly now. It took a while. He was, I guess, giving it a few days to really take in all the information. I'm sure he was consulting with legal teams and really trying to hammer out the exact proper response to have to this, because there's a lot of implications enmeshed in coming forward and acknowledging that you know this is going on and talking about the steps moving forward. Here is what he did end up posting. He says, over the last few days, I've become aware of the serious allegations of Ava Tyson's behavior online, and I'm disgusted and opposed to such unacceptable acts. During that time, I've been focused on hiring an independent third party to conduct a thorough investigation to ensure I have all the facts. That said, I've seen enough online and taken immediate action to remove Ava from the company, my channel, and any association with MrBeast. I do not condone or support any of the inappropriate actions. I will allow the independent investigators the necessary time to conduct comprehensive investigation and will take any further actions based on their findings. And this has 750,000 likes on it on X. Again, did he know? How much did you actually know? This is like your best friend at the time. You guys are building this platform, building this company, working pretty closely with one another. I find it hard to believe that you didn't know. But what I would imagine is that at the time he didn't view it to be as inappropriate as he does now, because the internet is telling him how inappropriate it actually is. And of course, people are sharing screenshots of, you know, them hanging out in the same room together and some of these pornographic images being on the wall. I can't see what's exactly on that image, but people are saying it is CP art purchased by Kris Tyson. I've tried like zooming in to see what's actually going on. Very hard to tell. This is an allegation, and so far has not been fully substantiated, but there's MrBeast hanging out in the background. With how often Kris was making these jokes about pornography and specifically to young people, again, I find it very hard to believe that MrBeast is suddenly in the last few days becoming privy to this information. So yeah, I mean, we'll hear back from him on that and see if that's actually true. Taylor, you've watched as this story unfolded. You've read some of the messages. What are your thoughts?
Well, just the more that comes out about this, you know, the worse it gets, whether it's on the MrBeast front or the Kris Tyson front. It just seems like was not great stuff going on. And you can like you're saying, you can probably attribute a lot of it to young, you know, locker room talk, young guys, and, you know, take any average guys in America, whatever, put a camera in the behind the scenes of their like most secret conversations or whatever, and you may get some very inappropriate stuff. That's not really the surprising or most disturbing part. Though the part that is the part where they are older. Kris specifically is older, involving minors, sending corn allegedly to minors, asking minors to create whole channels in his Discord that are NSFW, and even having such a cavalier flippant attitude about how that should be regulated, even as people are bringing to his attention that this is illegal. So that is the most concerning part, and it is definitely somewhat hard to believe that MrBeast was totally ignorant of everything that was going on. And there is an element of this. It's like, you guys were young, this was happening fast, you know, you're just kind of being yourselves, and this thing grows and whatever. But you're still responsible. And that's the thing. If you're an adult in the situation, you are responsible. And you talked about the locker room talk point a minute ago, and that it's one thing for that to happen among peers, whether they're minors or whether they're adults. But when it's happening where that line's being crossed from the adult direction towards the minors, that's a separate conversation. And there's like a new level of responsibility and accountability that comes into the fore there. And you can't not know that as the adult in the situation. You can't not be aware of that. You can't not respect that. And there is an issue of like respecting those boundaries and being aware of them that is enforced legally, but it's also just should be general knowledge that, man, you don't send explicit material to someone who's a kid when you're an adult, just full stop. And the fact that did not occur to Kris Tyson, and the fact that was apparently flew under the radar of MrBeast at best, or maybe he knew about it at worst, is just it's not acceptable. And there should be a reckoning here, just like there should be a reckoning on all these instances we've been talking about with Dr. Disrespect and Cody Ko and even Colleen Ballinger. And to some degree there has been, but it's like, why is this seeming to be a pattern now? And we really need to be having this conversation, apparently, among creators and people of influence online and their relationship with kids. And kids need to be informed about this because, like you said before, they were like, in their eyes, the kids see the adults in this situation. They're like, they can do no wrong in our eyes because they're these awesome influencers, and we're going to go, if they think this is okay, then, of course I'm going to go along with it. And again, just unacceptable. And the responsibility ultimately falls on the adults in the situation.
Yeah, 100%. And like, while Kris needs to be dealt with, Dr. Disrespect needs to be dealt with, it seems Cody Ko, who is going radio silent on this, probably because of the fact that he still wants to get a U.S. citizenship. We'll see how that goes. I mean, he's married to Kelsey. I don't know how the citizenship works within all that. Where is she from? You guys will let me know if you guys are deep within the Cody Ko lore on all of that. But there's a lot of responsibility that lies on the creators, and they need to, be held accountable for their actions. A missing part of this that I don't hear enough people talking about is the parents of these children. Where are the parents of these children who are allowing them to have these conversations, to be in the discords online with these content creators who, in the case of Lava GS, he won at 16, I guess, with his parents' knowledge and awareness, was able to meet up with Kris and the MrBeast team. Like, what are you guys doing? Letting your minor children meet up with people who they do not know. They just watch their YouTube videos online. I don't understand. And maybe it's because I've always sort of grown up, internet adjacent. I was introduced to the internet in my 12, 13 phase of life. And immediately that was a window of the world that opened me up to all sorts of grooming and opened up every single young person to grooming. You guys will know the stuff that was happening on Omegle and Kick and all these different chat rooms and stuff like that. So now that I'm an adult, I cannot fathom allowing my child to have unfettered access to the internet, to speak with whoever it is that they want to watch whatever it is they want to. And while there may be room for accidents like this to happen and things to slip through the cracks, you have to be so vigilant about who your child is speaking with online and what sort of content they're taking in online, because this is such an emphasis on this particular story. And I can't help but talk about the way that this is being covered in the media, specifically because Kris Tyson now identifies as Ava Tyson and goes by she, her pronouns, and is claiming to be a transgender individual. It is getting this story very different coverage than it would be if Kris Tyson was still Kris Tyson, which in my eyes, he very much is. But let's read this. This is about Dr. Disrespect, who admitted to having inappropriate conversations with a minor while not ever meeting up with that minor, insinuating that they would meet up, and having flirtatious, teetering on sexual conversations, according to his own statement. The Rolling Stone article says that Dr. Disrespect knowingly sent explicit messages to a minor, former Twitch employee says. Now, when covering the Kris Tyson story, they wrote, Ava Kris Tyson steps away from all things MrBeast amid transphobic attacks. Are you kidding me? Are you being so for real right now? Tyson was accused of grooming a minor. The alleged victim, now 20 years old, refutes the claims. Okay, So I can see the story that they're trying to spin here, that this is just some sort of transphobic attack on Kris Tyson because Kris now goes by Ava and people think that that is already perverse in nature. So now they're launching this attack on him and you can call that transphobia. It's not. In fact, if you look through the messages, he very much, as an adult and an adult who identified as a man at the time, was talking to minors in an inappropriate fashion. So why does the headline not reflect that more? And why is the grooming a minor part after the headline itself? And it's because Ava Kris Tyson is now part of some sort of protected class. And by protected class, I mean protected from very serious and dangerous allegations in regard to grooming a minor. And that is not okay. In fact, there's a large argument to be made that this identity may come from the past of grooming minors and having these inappropriate conversations. One, if you really wanted to not be charitable in this sense, could say that maybe Kris transitioned because he knew some of this stuff was going to come out eventually and wanted to be protected. Now, I don't know that I hold that specific belief. I would more likely say that Kris Tyson probably has a long history of sexual kink, perversion, watching this sort of pornography, as he refers to it online, lolly, hentai, all of this different stuff, which he also jokes about to these minors. And that sort of sexual perversion and giving into those sexual desires led him down the path of identifying as a woman. It is the case for a lot of men, and some of these men are predatory. But nobody wants to have that conversation. Nobody wants to admit it because they're scared of the picture that it paints of the entire trans community. And I'm not talking about the entire trans community. I'm talking specifically about a group of men who have a high rate of sexual perversion, a high need for sexual stimuli, and that need for sexual stimuli gets crazier and crazier and crazier the more pornography that they expose themselves to. They are, in fact, in some small way, victims of the porn industry. And because they need that stimuli and they have that addiction to it, they get introduced to things like cross-dressing, things like autogynephilia, which seemingly Ava Kris Tyson is afflicted by, and then they go down the path of transition. I think this man has a lot of problems lurking in his psyche, a lot of problems that maybe his wife was not aware of, that his child will probably become aware of as he gets older and looks back on these stories. And it is manifested in this identity of womanhood and taking on she, her pronouns. And it really is, at the end of the day, a slap in the face to women that you are taking on womanhood, she, her pronouns, and the characterization of being a woman, when in reality, you have this lurking under the surface. And whilst, I don't know how much blame you can set on somebody who has had this exposure and has this sort of addiction, I want to be clear that this seems to be a motivating factor in Kris Tyson now taking on the identity of Ava, and these two things should not be separated from one another. They are part of a holistic discussion about this identity, and I should not be called transphobic for pointing out that being the reality, because we're going to hear more stories like this, and it does not characterize the entire trans community in that way. It doesn't mean that they are all predators. It doesn't mean that they're all inappropriate. It just means that some of them are. And to tell people that they're transphobic for having that discussion is to create further victims in the future, because people are too scared to come forward and talk about these things out in the open air and be honest about it, because they're scared of being labeled a transphobe or a TERF or all these different terminologies, which is why at the outset of this episode, I unabashedly called myself a TERF because I know people are going to call me that anyways. So I'll go ahead and take on the label if it means we can have an honest discussion about what's going on here, instead of calling this womanhood. This is the exact opposite of womanhood. In fact, when looking into the crime of grooming and sexual perversion and sexual predation, essentially, there are women who commit crimes like this, but it is very, very rare. And it's not that I'm referring to what Kris is doing as an actual legal crime, because there does not seem to be any legal basis for sort of throwing the book at him for these conversations amongst minors. But it is to say that this sort of behavior is typically very masculine. Yet I'm being told I have to refer to him with she, her pronouns, and that his name is Ava. Even MrBeast, in his statement about all that's going on, is referring to Kris as Ava, when he's a full grown-ass man having sexual conversations with young people. Oh, Lord. Clown world. Clown world.
It is. And as I'm listening to you, it just if you take a step back from this whole thing and just think about how much dysfunction and devastation has been wrought, ultimately because Kris didn't control his impulses, because he didn't deal with his addiction issues. And I think it's probably fair game to speculate that when a person finds himself with very deep and even strange sexual inclinations and such, that there's usually some kind of prior sexual contact that they've had or some sort of abuse. And, we don't know anything to that effect with Kris in particular, but it's not difficult to imagine that there was some form of trauma that could have informed his tendencies toward addictions and toward strange and outlandish sexual kinks and behaviors and such. And it's just to think that the failure to deal with that, the failure for that to be something that was addressed, ultimately destroyed his career. It destroyed his family. It hurt the lives of the minors that he had contact with, and it hurt the millions, hundreds of millions and billions of people who watch MrBeast videos, who now are becoming aware one way or another of this in this whole situation. And what a tragedy, man. What a tragedy to think about. And it all traces back to a man not being able to deal with his issues, not being able to get the help that was needed, not being able to heal from whatever needed to be healed from in order to live a functional life. And that is just so tragic. And I think that there's a lesson there for all of us. And, I'm reminded, like Jordan Peterson tells the story of a dragon that's in a house, and it's this little baby dragon, and the family is kind of like, oh, that's nice. And then it's kind of like ignored and never really like dealt with. And day after day, it continues to grow and grow and grow. And before you know it, it's eaten the whole house and destroyed the whole community and killed everybody. And that is a symbol for the unresolved things in your life. And I think that if there's anything that we all can take with maybe even a humble perspective to this, is that, man, we make sure we're dealing with our stuff, make sure that you're learning to heal from what you need to heal from, that you're getting help for addictive behaviors that you might have, and that you're not allowing yourself to be drugged by the foot through dysfunctions and traumas and indulgences in your life. And it pays to just be whole and functional, and people depend on that. Your career depends on that. Your friends depend on that. The people that you come into contact with in your life depend on that. Your family will. So I don't know. That's where my mind's going as I'm hearing this story. It really is just such a tragedy.
Yeah, I mean, his poor wife, all of this stuff, one thing after the other. Your husband decides to transition to be a woman, and while in the midst of you raising a child, and now all these allegations are circulating, he's been fired. There's just so much stuff going on here. I really feel for her and their child as they're dealing with all of this. But it all, stems from inappropriate behavior that you didn't have to conduct, and that many people came to you and said, hey, maybe we should do something about this. This seems inappropriate. And then you said, what am I? A parent? Which is a valid question in a sense of, and really harkens back to what I believe, that parents are really have to take a piece of the pie when it comes to the responsibility here. But also, you could have stopped a lot of this from happening. You very clearly had several forks in the road where you could have chosen not to be inappropriate with minors, and you decided to be inappropriate with them anyways. So that should be investigated as far as the driving factors behind that behavior. Now, we're going to get into a little bit of news here. Election news, I should say. In the wake of Joe Biden dropping out of the race and choosing not to run for re-election, everybody turned their eyes to Kamala Harris. Everybody except for Barack Obama and Michelle Obama. So we were waiting to see whether or not the Obamas were going to endorse Kamala, and many were speculating that Michelle Obama might throw her hat into the ring and run for president and possibly become the Democratic nominee for president. But we have an update here. In a very cringy staged video, the Obamas have now endorsed Kamala Harris, and we'll play it for you so that you can experience the cringe with us.
Kamala!
Hello. Hi.
Hey there.
Oh, hi, you're both together. Oh, it's good to hear you both.
I can't have this phone call without saying to my girl Kamala, I am proud of you. This is going to be historic.
We called to say Michelle and I couldn't be prouder to endorse you and to do everything we can to get you through this election and into the Oval Office.
Oh my goodness. Michelle, Barack, this means so much to me. I am looking forward to doing this with the two of you, Doug and I both, and getting out there, being on the road. But most of all, I just want to tell you the words you have spoken and the friendship that you have given over all these years mean more than I can express. So thank you both. It means so much. And we're going to have some fun with this too, aren't we?
PFFR. That was not real. Oh my gosh, that was not real. I don't even know what to even say about that. A lot of people have pointed out that, of course, she has them on speaker, yet is like putting the phone up to her ear, as you can see here. She's also mic'd down here, which, of course, this is what they do. It's political theater, right? The Obamas is a huge endorsement. In fact, one of the biggest endorsements if you're going to run for the Democratic committee and you want to be the Democrat candidate. So you would need the Obamas in your corner to some large extent. Joe Biden didn't have that in his last race, and we should probably ask ourselves why he didn't have Obama's endorsement. And if Biden didn't have Obama's endorsement, that also means that VP Kamala Harris did not have Obama's endorsement. So why is it now that the Obamas suddenly really love Kamala Harris and they want to give her this fake ass staged endorsement? Probably because they've been pressured to, and they know that they need to say something in order for her to have any semblance of an actual chance in this next election. And they will leverage the Obama's charisma and everything that people love about Barack and Michelle Obama in order to make sure that she is ushered forward and she is moved ahead in this race against Donald Trump. So yeah, it felt like they were like sitting there reading a script. Honestly, when I saw this for the first time, I didn't even think they were actually on the phone with one another. I thought it was a recording and they just put like a screenshot of an actual phone conversation, because when you go back and watch it again, which we'll do, that's exactly what it sounds like.
Kamala!
Hello. Hi.
Hey there.
Oh, hi. You're both together. Oh, it's good to hear.
Hi, hey there. It's like she said it at the wrong time and they like interrupted her.
I can't have this phone call without saying to my girl Kamala, I am proud of you.
And like
this
that audio
is
so
going to be historic.
That's not what it sounds like coming out of a speaker.
It's not what it sounds like at all coming out of the speaker. I feel like this is not an actual phone call that took place. Just like when Kamala Harris was on stage and she was supposedly talking to Joe Biden about this upcoming race and the fact that he's in her corner, it didn't sound like they were talking to one another either. So yeah, I don't know what's going on here, but this does not seem legit to me. Either way, she's gotten the Obama's endorsement. It will probably take her somewhere in this race. How far? I don't know. But we finally have that sort of plot hole plugged in as Obama has endorsed her. And maybe this lets us know she's the nominee. She's the one who's going to be going forward. So there we go.
Yeah, and Obama was the last one of all the prominent Democrats to not endorse her. And he at first issued a statement saying, I trust that we're going to have a rigorous, great process to choose the right candidate, and I look forward to supporting whomever that is. And then every single other Democrat in the world, one by one, starts endorsing Kamala Harris, including all of the would-be rivals for the nomination. So it became evident that they had decided, the marching orders had gone out, that it had been decided that she was the one, and Obama's endorsement, I think, certainly cements that, which some people are pointing out, like, how strange is it? How undemocratic is it for the Democratic Party to choose a nominee that hasn't been primary? And I've heard other people point out that it's kind of an advantage in the electoral sense, because this election cycle, she has not had to take any heat from her own side. No one on the Democratic Party side has had to, or had the opportunity to, criticize her record. And on the Democratic side, they haven't had to duke it out at all to determine what are the strengths and weaknesses of this candidate. And in 2020, I need not remind all of us, she was roundly rejected. I think she got like 3% of the vote. Tulsi Gabbard totally torpedoed her whole campaign by bringing up several just horrible things on her record. That short is on our channel going viral right now. Mm-hmm. If you want to check that out. So, I mean, we'll see where this goes. It's clear that she's going to be the nominee for all intents and purposes. But is that an advantage or disadvantage? I'm sure with the media, once the Democratic Party machine and the media machine is fully behind her, it will be formidable, even though it probably shouldn't be given her weakness as a candidate, but that might not have to be dealt with this time around.
Right, and they've done this many a time before, so here we are again, and we're actually going to be talking about that more in depth in tomorrow's video, so keep an eye out, and it actually involves a conversation surrounding Black Lives Matter, so yeah, all these things happening are just crazy, so keep an eye out for that. We are going to circle back on these Elon Musk stories that are popping up. Elon Musk recently came out and said, my son is dead and he died because of the woke mind virus. And this went crazy viral. A lot of people were saying, how dare you, Elon Musk, say this about your son? And for those of you who don't know, Elon Musk had a son named Xavier. That son is now a woman named Vivian because they've decided to transition. They actually petitioned the court here in Los Angeles, where I'm speaking to you now, in Santa Monica, and said, I want a legal name change. The court granted him that legal name change, and now Elon Musk's son is named Vivian now. So Elon Musk spoke about this in a podcast with Jordan Peterson. We'll run that clip again for you so you can see it.
It happened to one of my older boys, where I was essentially tricked into signing documents for one of my older boys, Xavier. This is before I had really any understanding of what was going on, and we had COVID going on, and so there was a lot of confusion. I was told, Xavier might commit suicide if he. That was a lie right from the outset. Incredibly evil, and I agree with you that people that have been promoting this should go to prison. So I was tricked into doing this, it wasn't explained to me that puberty blockers are actually just sterilization drugs. Anyway, and so I lost my son essentially. They call it dead naming for a reason.
Yeah.
All right. So the reason it's called dead naming is because your son is dead. So my son Xavier is dead. Killed by the woke mind virus.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what that would be like.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and there's lots of people in that situation now.
Right.
It's not pretty, and lots of demolished kids.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's a good reason to be the final straw. All right, so let's.
So I vowed to destroy the woke mind virus after that. And we're making some progress.
There you go. So that's the clip. And this went crazy. Everybody was saying, what a horrible transphobe. Your son isn't dead. Your son is actually alive and now goes by, she, her pronouns and is named Vivian. And how dare you disown your child in this way? Even though there's a substantial amount of evidence to say that the child really pushed out Elon Musk, actually, in the petition to the court to have their name changed. The child said, I want nothing to do with my father in any way, shape, or form. And that was a large reason behind wanting to change the name. It begs the question, is that a large reason behind wanting to change your gender as well? You effectively wanted to be dead to your father. You change your gender in order to get there. That might be a small piece of the pie as far as the motivation behind that. And now Elon Musk is being called a transphobe for referring to his son as being dead, even though the left-leaning community will tell you if you use the old name, you are dead naming somebody, meaning you are using the name of somebody who is dead. So I'm not sure exactly how that makes sense. But of course, in all this controversy, Elon Musk's child is the question. And his child is now grown. I believe they're 20 years old now. You guys can fact check me on that. And Xavier/Vivian made this video saying, hey guys, I'm soon going to be responding to everything my father has been saying.
It is Vivian Jenna Wilson. I'm just going to come on here and say that I'm doing well. I'm doing fine, actually. And I am formulating a response and whatnot. It's being worked on. Just hold your goddamn horses for 5 more seconds, okay? I promise it's getting worked on. It is Vivian.
Okay. Now, as you can see, his child is really through the process of transitioning. Has gone through a considerable amount of the process. It looks quite feminine in this video. And you're right, they were formulating a response. And we're going to go ahead and read some of that here today so we can check in and see how valid some of the complaints that this child has for Elon Musk really are. Here we go. It says there's a lot of stuff I need to debunk, which I will get to, don't worry, but I want to start with what I find the funniest, which is the notorious slightly autistic tweet, which I'll read. Elon Musk essentially says that Xavier was gay and slightly autistic. Born gay is the phrase he uses. I don't agree with that phrase, but I digress. Was born gay and slightly autistic. 2 attributes that contribute to gender dysphoria. I knew that from when he was 4 years old and he would pick out clothes for me to wear, like a jacket, and tell me it was fabulous, as well as his love of musicals and theater. But he was not a girl. Now, there are many qualms that I have with this tweet. The attribution of certain characteristics to a specific sexuality or to a specific identity, I don't exactly agree with. And maybe at one day, Elon Musk and I could talk that out. But probably never, so I'll just leave it in this video to talk about. But this idea that a kid can be having different, sexualities or experiencing autism, and that may give way to gender dysphoria, is actually a very noted and researched fact. For that, I would urge you to read something like The End of Gender by Deborah So, where she talks about these details. Anything by Abigail Schreier, where we talk about the young people who are autistic, maybe gay, who end up experiencing gender dysphoria and then are pushed down the path of transition, which Elon Musk alludes to being the case with his own child. Now, this is going to become a he said, she said type of thing, but that's the tweet in question. His child goes on to say, this is going to be a bit, so just bear with me. And we'll scroll down here. This is entirely fake. Like, literally, none of this ever happened, ever. I don't even know where he got this from. My best guess is that he went to Milo Yiannopoulos' school of gay stereotypes, just picked some at random, and said, good enough, in a last-ditch attempt to garner sympathy points when he is obviously in the wrong, even in his own fucking story. Now, it would be hard to substantiate whether or not this is true. Considering in Elon Musk's claim, this child was 4 years old. Do you guys remember everything that you guys did and said at 4 years old? I certainly don't. I don't remember what my interests were at 4 years old. I don't remember whether or not I would have uttered the word fabulous in regard to a jacket that my father was wearing. And I would, to a certain extent, trust my father or parents' memory in regard to what was happening at the time, considering I was 4 years old. But of course, the claim is made that Elon Musk is sort of weaponizing these made-up memories against the child. Who knows? We're not going to be able to confirm that. They go on to say, I did not have a love of musicals and theater when I was 4 because, I was fucking 4. I did not know what these things were. My earliest real experience with musicals was when my twin brother had a Hamilton phase in 8th, 9th grade and overplayed it so much in the car to the point where for a long time I swore off the entire genre. Again, how would you know whether or not you liked musicals and theater at 4 years old? Do you guys remember everything that you were into at 4 years old? I think what they're trying to insinuate here is that their earliest real memory of musicals was when they were in 8th and 9th grade. Who can substantiate that? I do not know. They go on to say, I never picked out jackets for him to wear. How would you know? And I was most certainly not calling them fabulous because literally, what the fuck? I did not use the word fabulous when I was 4 because once again, I would like to reiterate, I was 4. Again, I don't know how you can know these things about what you were saying. This is so obvious. I don't even think it warrants explanation. But apparently people believe this nonsense. So here I am. This entire thing is completely made up, and there's a reason for this. He doesn't know what I was like as a child because he quite simply wasn't there. And in the little time he was, I was relentlessly harassed for my femininity and queerness. So was he there or was he not there? Because you say he wasn't there, and then you say when he was there, he was relentlessly bullying you. But I guess he was doing that when you were 4 years old as well, and you remember that from 4 years old, but can't quite remember exactly what you were saying at 4 years old. Again, I don't know. They go on to say, obviously, he can't say that. So I've been reduced to a happy little stereotype, effing, as in the F word that used most commonly towards gay people, effing along to use at his discretion. I think that says a lot about how he views queer people and children in general. As for As for if I'm not a woman, sure, Jan, whatever you say. I'm legally recognized as a woman in the state of California, and I don't concern myself with the opinions of those who are below me, he writes. Obviously, Elon can't say the same because in a ketamine-fueled haze, he's desperate for attention and validation from an army of degenerate red-pilled incels and pick-me's who are quick to give it to him. Go touch some fucking grass. Somebody responds, extremely shocked to hear this D-bag is a liar. Hope you're not too bothered by what he says about you. And the son/daughter responds, I'm not, LOL. I've just started to find it funny at this point. Calling me dead on a podcast with Jordan Peterson, of all people, while basically admitting you have zero reading comprehension by saying you were, quote, tricked, end quote, into signing documents that you read over multiple times is basically a parody of itself. Like, it's honestly camp. Okay, so there you go. There is the response from Elon Musk's child. They're clearly not happy about the news, clearly not happy about Elon Musk and what he said about this woke mind virus killing his child. But I will say none of this cleared up anything for me. As we're being asked to question the memory of somebody who would have been 4 years old at the time. We're getting very vicious attacks towards the father. We're getting the claim that the father viciously attacked you and your femininity and your queerness when you were a kid. All of this we could not possibly know, but we do know that trans kids don't exist. So there's that. We do have that, and that is definitely backed by science and research, and we don't have to ask anybody for their memory of what somebody said at 4 years old in order to substantiate that fact. So when somebody says the woke mind virus killed their son, I think I'm going to lean in on that perspective for this one, whether or not all the other stuff used to substantiate that claim is true or not. I don't care if you were 4 years old and you picked out a jacket for dad and you said it's fabulous, but that does not concern me at all. This is not something that I would worry about in my analysis of whether or not this person was pushed down the path of this, quote, woke mind virus, end quote. I would be more concerned about the result and the outcome. And the outcome is a young boy who thought he was a girl, and so much so decided to transition and have their name legally changed to, while trying to affirm themselves, actually running as far away from who they actually are as possible. Now, that is a sign to me of the woke mind virus. And this is not an endorsement of Elon Musk, his fathering skills. It's not to say that he's a fantastic parent. In fact, many times on this show, I've directly said, I do not at all agree with Elon Musk running around and impregnating as many people as he possibly can to repopulate the earth. And I think there's maybe some underlying subconscious drivers in him just trying to have as many children as he possibly can. And I question the ability of a man to properly father and parent that many children, with that being your goal. And this can so often be the result of that. A child who does not have proper love from their father, does not have a proper relationship with that father, is watching them go out and have children with other women, and then it creates internal identity issues, and they hate daddy so much that they petition the court when they're 18 to have their name changed, and in that petition they say, I want nothing to do in any way, shape, or form with my father. So, while the woke mind virus can be largely responsible for the result and the outcome that we get here, I am by no means pushing aside the possibility that failure in parenting also contributed to this problem. And, you know, there's blame to be thrown out in all directions, and we can be all like that Spider-Man meme where we're like pointing the gun at everybody who's in the room. But I would put the majority of the blame on what creates the result, which would be the wokeness, the ideology. This result does not exist without the ideology to usher it forward. But to Elon Musk, maybe we take this as a learning lesson to not go around just having as many kids as possible because you have the money to support those children. Money isn't everything. Sometimes a kid just needs to be told that you love them and that they are in fact a boy, and they need proper time and a proper relationship with their father in order to truly understand that. They need that role figure consistently present in their life. And no matter how much money you have, no matter how many like goons you have to take care of all these things you're doing, the one thing that you don't have is the ability to be consistently in the lives of this many children that you're going out and creating. So I didn't want this video to purely absolve Elon Musk of maybe some of the responsibility that he bears in the outcome here. But I also want to criticize the response of the child and say that it does seem as though this woke mind virus is largely responsible for the outcome here. But that's for update, and I feel for this breakdown of a father-son relationship that we're now all witnessing in the public sphere. This is not something that we should be looking at publicly. This should be dealt with personally. And it just further shows how much the relationship has been degraded between these two. And it sucks. It sucks to grow up without a dad. It sucks to grow up viewing your dad in this way and hating somebody who should be a very significant male role model in your life. And what this person needs most is a very significant male role model. So yeah, that sucks. There we are.
It does. I have pretty much nothing to add. The comments are saying you ate that up, and I agree. Is overall just yet another tragedy to our tragic list of stories today. So happy birthday to me.
Yeah, right. Happy birthday to me, and maybe put a cap on the number of children that you bring into the world. Maybe like in our mission to repopulate the earth, there are some problems that can pop up in the pursuit of such things. Guys, we're gonna get into your super chats and hear from you guys on these matters.
Let's do it. Hopefully there's some good news out there to pivot us away from all these tragic stories.
Yes.
Kennedy is our first one today. Says, hi, Amala and Taylor. Happy Friday. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. And Taylor, we share the same birthday. Happy B-Day.
Oh, happy birthday to everybody.
Let's
Taylor,
go.
What are your birthday plans? What are you doing?
My wife got us tickets to like a jazz concert tonight. We're at a New Orleans themed jazz bar and restaurant. So having some Cajun food, which I really like, and she really doesn't. So she's suffering for me, which means a lot. And going out on the boat tomorrow. Our birthdays are a week apart. So we had a joint birthday party last weekend. A joint birthday party is actually how we first met / became friends / started dating and stuff. So anyways, it's a long and rich history there.
Very fun.
That's this weekend. Yeah.
Love it.
And Sandra Bullock shares our birthday as well. Shout out to the July 26th.
Yeah, she's turning 60 today, I think.
Do you know any celebrities that share your birthday?
Tupac.
Tupac. Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's the one I got.
Amala has the same birthday as my brother, actually.
Yeah,
which
there we
is
go.
Great
That's
as well.
true.
And Miki Hilarious says, hey, Mamala, love this show so much. Keep up the good work. It's also my cat's birthday.
Wow, right, it's everybody's birthday today. Nice.
Birthdays on birthdays. You get a birthday. You get a birthday.
Check under your seat.
Amy Lynch says, I don't know if it's distasteful to say this, but a lot of these trans women are incredibly predatory. I've had a pretty nasty experience also. Shrugging emoji.
Dude, yeah. I mean, it's the basis for the choice for a lot of them itself. Never underestimate the lengths to which a predatory man will go to fulfill his desires. That's not the case for all trans women, but it is the case for some. Okay? You think Leah Thomas maybe wanted to be in a locker room with a bunch of women and then decided I'm going to transition in order to make that happen? Or the people who are going into the bathrooms and locker rooms at Planet Fitness or YMCA? Maybe. They're just predatory men. You know, if you hear hoofbeats, think horse, not zebra. I'm not thinking, this is a woman who is trapped in a man's body and that's why they're exposing themselves to me in a locker room right now. I'm going to think horse. And the horse it's a predatory man who gets off on exposing themselves to women.
Facts. Forearm Game Strong says, hey there, A and Tay, just something I noticed, but why does Kris Tyson look oddly familiar to Taylor? Looks like a 1-for-1 match to me.
Yeah, right. Now we're just trying to start beef for no reason. For no reason.
Alex is just clowning me because he's insecure about his own issues and sexuality. Were you in a Discord server with Kris Tyson, Alex? Do you need to tell us some more things?
Please. Let us get the story first, Alex, if so.
Moo Fun says, I'm saying this enthusiastically, but it's brutal. I was groomed and molested by 3 men as a kid, so I feel for him. I constantly still unlock the times that were twisted by my brain. Reality was worse.
Dude, awful experience. And it's just I've said this on the show before, I think it's a much more common experience than people are willing to give credit to. And maybe it's just because we haven't had really deep cultural conversations surrounding these things. So these YouTube stories, I think, are going to be like a snowball effect. So much more is going to come out because there were things that we were just allowing and letting slide and we felt were okay that are certainly not okay. When I think about my own experience, which judging by what you've just said in this very short super chat was nowhere near as bad as probably what you went through. I was thinking the other day, like with my sister, we went back to watch Pretty Little Liars, which was a show at the time that I was watching when I was so young. I was obsessed with the show, with these girls or whatever. There is 1, 2, 3, within the first season, predatory relationships displayed between teenage girls in high schools with adult men, and nowhere in the show do they say these relationships are inappropriate. Nowhere in the show are these men brought to the police to be dealt with in any way. In fact, the show perpetuates the narrative that these are somewhat soulmate relationships between some of these girls and the older men that they're dating. Watching that at like 12, 13, literally sets you on the path to be groomed by an older man and to think that it's your destiny and that you're soulmates and that the world just simply doesn't understand your age gap relationship. And that is just like one example of so many other things we got exposed to as young people that with stories like this are going to be the norm, not like the exception to some rule. They are going to be the norm.
So wild.
Crazy.
My kids are watching only Mr. Rogers until they're 18.
Oh my kids, I'm so sorry. No TV, no computer. You are not allowed to watch anything ever. We are Amish, actually. Yeah, no, it sucks.
Yeah,
it's awful.
The ballerina farms lady might be onto something, not having a TV in their house for the kids and just having them do chores and ride bulls all the time.
For real, for real.
Let's see. Diva Dawn says, people trust people too easily. P. Diddy. Need I say more? Corey Feldman spoke about parties with half-naked teen girls when he was a teen actor.
Yep. And there's just always this stuff going on in the background. And there's like the bystander effect, I guess, sets in and people think, I don't know, maybe something's going to be done about it. Or maybe this is just like a collective agreement that we have that this is somehow okay. And then nothing ever gets done until like P. Diddy is scapegoated as like this horrible predator at the very end when all is done and all the victims have already, have gone through their lives and are now in adulthood. So we need to get better at like clamping down on these things when they're happening. And I think we're in that reckoning now of like stories from 5, 8, 10 years ago are now coming to light. And as we generally agree that this is not okay, that time frame is going to get shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter.
And then hopefully we arrive at things being reported when they happen and this stuff stopping.
Yep, 100%.
Let's see. Timothy W. says, happy birthday, Taylor. I hope your day's filled with fun Taylor things and activities. Thank you,
fun
Timothy.
Taylor things.
Melissa Lenz says, unfortunately, most predators have been sexually abused as kids. Thank you for bringing light to this in a calm and matter-of-fact way.
Yeah, 100%. There are some that have, there are some that haven't. A lot of predators get exposed to the behavior that they then take on in their own childhood. And maybe there's some sort of mechanism that they believe it was okay, much like grooming victims don't realize something wrong happened to them until much later. And then they then go on to perpetuate that same behavior onto other people. I think that's something that is not talked about enough. And it's because people think it excuses the behavior of the predator because it happened to them when they were a child. It doesn't excuse the behavior. It just helps you to understand why the behavior is taking place. And if we could have more open conversations about that, you could stop predators in their tracks before the behavior, before these heinous actions are committed, because it leads to deeper understanding of themselves. But people think it's like a justification. Oh, they abused me because they were abused and that makes it okay. It doesn't make it okay.
100%. Forum Game Strong again says, even though I, along with others, like making fun of Taylor and Amala, I can't forget to say happy 50th birthday, Taylor. I was informed that you're not 50 yet, but either way, happy birthday, man. Oh, well.
Happy 50th birthday. How old are you actually, Taylor?
34 today.
34.
So I had a friend text me earlier who's like, you're still closer to 20 than 50. So that was my consolation.
That's the important part.
After a while, birthdays just stop being like exciting. It's just like, okay, it's happening, whatever. Like, I don't know.
100%.
But you know, that's not I still choose to like make it a, you know, okay, cool. Yeah. Grateful to be here. Grateful for the people in my life. Grateful to be shown some love. I'm here for it.
Definitely.
But it's also, I don't need it to be this massive thing anymore. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Cell says, I was cringing so hard with the Obamas having that quote unquote call with Kamala. They don't even like her, but they're pulling all the cards to have a chance.
Right. So many people have been criticizing her all throughout this time are now just like saying, oh, Kamala this, she's so powerful. She's brat. She's moving on. She's going to be the president. And yeah, whatever. Just shows you how many snakes there are in the grass, really. And they'll just turn on you in any direction that they need in order to get where they need to get. And that's it.
Timothy again says, people on the left, quote, we need to save democracy. Also people on the left, quote, and we're going to do that by totally avoiding the entire democratic process.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that more tomorrow. Don't you worry. It's actually a perfect summation of tomorrow's video and what we're going to be discussing.
Yeah, make sure you got your notifications on. A lower than average % of y'all have your notifications on. I think it's because we have so many subscribers from Shorts, but even so, make sure you got your notifications on so you get notified when these new videos drop, which is every single day.
Mm-hmm. Good job.
Maggie Height says, I'm weeks away from doing my first home birth. I wish you were my midwife, Amala. I love the show, and happy birthday, Taylor. My favorite show on YouTube.
Oh my gosh, I wish I was too. I wish you all the best in your first home birth. That is so exciting. Oh my gosh. I bet it's going to be a very, very beautiful experience. I've heard nothing but good things about people who choose to do home births, of course, as long as everything goes smooth. And I hope that for you. I wish that for you. And I'm so excited for you. That is awesome. I can't wait to do the same.
Congrats, Maggie. And thanks for watching. Andres says, hi, Amala. In Uruguay, we have a center right-wing party in power, but our government-owned TV channel announced in its news that the opposition, the current government in power, will lose the elections and that Kamala Harris has already won, and said that Trump faked his attack.
Interesting. I mean, I hope that's not true, that Kamala Harris has already won this race, because what? You know what I think? I'm like, if this woman wins, something went down, because there's no way. There's no way she's meant to be the president of the United States, and certainly not the first female president of the United States. Certainly not.
Yeah, bro, the amount of just like lying to ourselves you would have to do to let that woman be elected, like just given her record, her awfulness as a candidate, how radical she is. It's like, how could this happen? I mean, it's going to be ugly if somehow, I mean, states are going to start seceding or something crazy is going to happen.
Hope not. Hope not.
I'm not looking, hopefully we avoid all of the drama this time around, but something tells me there will be drama one way or another.
Right, one way or another.
Thank you for the update about Uruguay. We always look forward to those from Andres. And that's crazy that state TV in Uruguay is saying that the Trump attack was fake and Kamala's already president. Wow.
That's wild.
That's Orwellian. Diva Dawn says, read in quote unquote article today saying there is supposedly bad blood between Obama and Biden. It says Biden's endorsement was his way of choosing a candidate instead of letting Obama. They're all so shady.
Yeah, there does seem to be something going on between the two of them. I don't know what it is, but they don't seem to like each other at all. So I can't imagine that he likes Kamala at all. So who knows what's going on there. But politician is as politician does. They're all fake. They're all fake as fuck.
Did anyone else start humming the Bad Blood song under their breath when that was written?
Right.
I mean, all I know is the part that goes blah, 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 bad blood. But,
Baby, now we got bad blood.
Yeah, there you go. Celine says, you showed me it's okay to have and say my opinion, even if it's not the mainstream Western opinion. I thank you so much. All the love from Germany.
That is so sweet. Yes, it is okay to say your opinion out loud. Who gives a what people think? Just say it, you know, and deal with the consequences, because it's so much better to be truthful with yourself and with other people than it is to like try to hide and promote some version of yourself that you're not. It's just such a waste of time.
100%. Andres says, my previous point is that Uruguay is overtaken by extreme left radicals that run a parallel government that breaks all the laws and constitution in place. Even the judges are extreme left and think that private property is a lie and is good to steal from rich people.
Sounds an awful lot like what we're dealing with here, y'all. There's no...
Yeah, maybe the mask is off a little bit more down there, but we're dealing with similar stuff. It's wild, man.
Yeah.
I hear like Brazil is going left right now. There's crazy stuff going on down there.
The UK,
Europe's
France.
got its issues. Is there any good news anywhere in the world right now?
For real.
Things happening. Poland and maybe, or Hungary.
Yeah, Poland and Hungary. You guys are holding it down.
Argentina, that's right. People are saying Argentina with Maleli and El Salvador with Bukele. Perhaps we'll all need to be refugees there.
Chance.
JSOL03 says if Elon's trans kid wants to piss him off, they should just change their name to XX to prove that they're actually quote unquote a woman.
That would be following
the other
the
kid
theme.
named X.
Yeah, XI or whatever the heck it's called. What a strange name. Yeah, I'm surprised the name is not more strange for this one.
Oh, well played. SAR just sends a super chat, no message.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, SAR. Coffee Bird says I was gorgeous from Mexico.
That's so nice. Thank you. Thanks.
Mel Martinez says, can't these wokes just go to North Korea? Honestly.
Whoa. That is a radical prescription. I don't think they'd like it over there, to be honest.
I mean, if you take a lot of the ideals that they espouse at face value, they theoretically would like it over there, but of course that's only until they actually get there.
Of course.
It's like all those people like Miley Cyrus was like, I'm gonna move to Canada if Trump wins the election. You're not moving nowhere.
You're staying right here.
Yeah.
Be for real.
Otaku69 says, and this is exactly why with how far the left and woke mind virus has gone, I say social media should be gotten rid of. High net negative. Thoughts?
I don't know that I'm like all for controlling what people have access to, so I wouldn't get rid of social media, but I can actively recognize how unhealthy it is for society and the negative impact that it seems to be having on virtually everybody involved, and we are no exception to that. But I wouldn't want to get rid of something that people have had access to.
Yeah, I'm encouraged by like certain measures to like remove social media from schools and high profile people, or smartphones, I should say, from schools during the school day. And high profile people speaking out against the dangers of social media, especially for young teenagers. Yeah. And I think those are good developments. But yeah, it's something that, with great freedom comes great responsibility. And it's not, the solution isn't to reduce the freedom. It's to have responsibility when we're using these things and be wise people. And unfortunately, that's not the reality for most out there right now. But, it's you live and learn, I guess.
Yeah.
Jim says, hey guys, I want to ask your advice on marketing my new business based on everything being 90 degrees. I'm really looking for the right angle.
I don't understand. Oh, please. Thanks for that. That was a good one. Taylor appreciated that.
I love the dad jokes. So I'm here for it. Thank you.
Hit me in the middle.
Jim, that was my favorite one today.
And
Isaac Gavi says, I can't wait until tips are not taxed.
When is that happening? That's happening under Trump
promised it as part of his platform.
Right, guys. What did I say? No tax on Superchats. Vote for Trump.
And last one I see here is Judson Watkins, who says there is a video. YouTube. This is oddly phrased. YouTube is hiding because he used to work for MrBeast and exposed for business practice. Channel name Dogpack 404. Okay, so somebody exposing MrBeast is out there.
Well, I guess if it's credible, it will come to the top of the surface, I'm sure, because there's all these MrBeast videos circulating these days. He's getting called out left and right, so I think there will be more updates to this story. A couple more, I think.
I see here. Irritated Citrus says, have you heard about the new Melanie Martinez R-star PE allegations?
No, I haven't. Melanie Martinez is a singer who rose to prominence after being on The Voice. I think she's on The Voice. she had allegations in the past that I think end up getting cleared up and she was fine. A woman accused her, and I guess there's new ones. I haven't heard about any new allegations against Millie Martinez. No, I have not.
Wild. And Nina RUVIL says, my family consists of police officers. I have many friends who say F the police, and it's embarrassing. They know nothing about what these people do.
Yeah, it's just an uneducated, I think, response to anything. To just lump in any group of people in that way and give them like a blanket statement just really, for the most part, does not make sense. So they're probably just a little ignorant, and hopefully they will come around and realize the error of their ways. Wishing you the best on that one, especially for your family. Guys, that's the end of our show. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you had a fantastic time. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below on all the different things we covered today. Talking about MrBeast, updating you on the Kris Tyson allegations, plus Kris Tyson being fired from the MrBeast team. Talking about the Obamas giving Kamala Harris an endorsement in her now presidential run, and an update on Elon Musk's son/daughter and everything that's been happening within their family drama. Drop your thoughts in the comments down below. As always, encourage healthy debate. So if you disagree with anything said in this video, duke it out, but do so respectfully. And if you like this video, like, subscribe, click the notification bell to be notified every single time we're live. That's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 1 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern. Plus, we post videos for you guys every single day. Tomorrow's video is about Black Lives Matter and me agreeing with them. Shocker. Surprising. I surprise myself every day. You guys surprise me every day. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below, and I will see you tomorrow. Have a great weekend.